You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast. My name is Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I hope wherever you are in the world and whatever you're doing, you are doing very well. You're about to hear from a legend, Mr. Al Anderson. He's the guitarist for Bob Marley, and nowadays he's in the original Wailers. On the eve of the chat, they were looking forward to their Australian tour, which occurred through December of 2017. So why don't we go and have a listen to what Al has to say? Here we go. All right, mate. So you guys, you're coming down, as in the original Wailers, you're coming down to Australia through November and December. Tell us all about the show that you're bringing.
Well, your promoters and the fans have requested that we play the songs of the Legend album. And I'm willing to do that for the fans. I'm willing to do that for anyone. But as an artist, as a singer, songwriter, and producer, it can get a little crafty when you've got your own songs. We got a Grammy nomination for the Miracle album 2013 from the 55th Academy of Arts here. And our singer-songwriter, Chet Samuel, has his own album called Say My Name, which you can stream. And in the past, like from working with the Wailers, it was always a tribute to yourself. And I didn't want to do that. That's why I formed the original Wailers, so that I could get singing and natural songwriting talent without imitating Peter, Bob, and Bunny's music. And I've been able to do that. But the thing with touring Australia and New Zealand, these are the places that made it happen for the Wailers. It wasn't America, and it wasn't England. Like the Lyceum was 1,700 people, and Babylon by bus, there was 3,000 people. It was an arousing crowd, a lot of noise being made, it was great music. But when we got to New Zealand and Australia, New Zealand, 80,000 people. We sold 3 tractor trailers of merchandise. We're selling millions of albums. That's when it started happening. So when we get to Australia, people want to feel Bob. They don't want to feel me. They're happy to see me play No Woman, No Cry and Roadblock and all that, and the songs of Legend or whatever they want us to. But they want to feel and sing along to the songs that they are familiar with, and wholeheartedly. A lot of times when we perform, we play our own songs. We play the Say My Name album. We play the songs from Miracle.
Okay.
People don't know their words. So they're like, what is this? But when we play No Woman, No Cry, the whole crowd is involved. So a lot of doing the Legend album in its entirety isn't what we do, but we'll do anything to please our fans worldwide. And at the same time, if we get the opportunity to play our own material, it's just as important as playing the material of Bob Marley and the Wailers. Because people that never got a chance to see Bob want to feel like they see something quite familiar to what they've never seen.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos, I've heard the records, but now I'm seeing these guys, and it sounds like the group. And the singer-songwriter that has his own material that I work with, his name is Chet Samuel. And when I was working with the Wailers, my group is the original Wailers, not to get it confused. When I worked with the Wailers, we always had a guy imitating Bob like a bad Elvis impersonator, which made me exceptionally angry.
Okay.
And that's the reason why I started with the Wailers, so I could get away from all of that being a tribute to yourself, which we are not. But if we have to play the Legend album to make fans happy, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, gotcha. I mean, there are so many classic cuts that you yourself have been associated with over the years. And look, Bob is definitely a revered icon, but mate, here's a bit of a different question for you. How do you personally remember him? Is the public iconography of Bob, is it similar to the way he was as a bandmate, and I take it also as a friend?
my relationship with Bob was work. I was in the studio every single day. I lived at his mother's house in Delaware, where we just sat and played. Bob was incredible because you're like, I was sleeping on the sofa, and I slept on the floor at Hope Road for a year and a half before they released the Nazi Dread album. But in that time of a year and a half of sleeping on the floor, and him being there all the time, and me being with him all the time, all he did was write songs. So every single day, every minute that I was with him, because I wasn't a good footballer, he was great. It was all about he was writing songs, and like when I heard him, like when he wrote Roots, and I played that song live in the studio and didn't know anything I was doing. And I was like, this guy's amazing. And so I had the same relationship with him as I did with Peter Tosh. Our friendship was second. His songwriting and me sitting with an acoustic guitar, adding my part to help build his tracks, is all we did every single day and day out. And then it got to where it was like a massive muscle that anytime it would flex, there was strength. He had the most amazing drummer, Carlton Barrett. I mean, forget it. He was a god. It's just unbelievable. I mean, the band was, I just felt lucky to be able to have anything to do with that level of songwriting between Peter. I didn't really know Bunny Wailer. I saw him and talked with him, and I was going to play on the Black Heart Man record, which was one of his greatest. But he had a better guitarist. Earl Chinner Smith was way above my level because I was just learning the music during those days. You know, I was coming from a jazz rock background, and I was kind of like, wow, I'll do this and that, but does it work? No. And so I had to learn that blues works way better. And then I was able to achieve that from the Nazi Dread album, which I got really lucky because the guitarist of choice was the lead guitarist of Free, Paul Corso.
Yeah, awesome, yeah.
Black Paul. Yeah, he had a great touch, whether he played loud or soft. He was just an amazing guitar player. And he had the most incredible guitar collection, and we were friends. I met him at the Fillmore East in the early 70s. And we stayed in touch, and I met Traffic. And when I got over to England, these are the guys who put me up, gave me chugs of beer and joints and introduced me to Island Records.
Cool.
Really. And I got to meet Chris and see how it worked. So they basically asked Paul to come and play the Nazi Dread album. He was in bad health, and I substituted for him, and I got lucky, and I got the job. That's how it happened.
So, you've touched on something that I think is really important because I feel as though you're a tremendously underrated guitarist, and you are a tremendous musician, and you've performed with many notable acts, too many to mention, but you mentioned a name early on, and that's Peter Tosh, and you were the guitarist on the legendary Legalize It. So, what was the recording session like through working with Peter on that album?
It was completely different from working with Bob. It was like, just, they weren't the same. They were just not the same person. Bob would have like 400 people in the studio while we were recording, doing this and that, cooking and rolling and smashing and cramming. And Peter was a lone wolf. It was like a one-on-one thing. And Bob's magic was having all these people around him. And that's where he got all his energy from. Peter was more integral and more of an introvert than an extrovert with his musical songwriting. And I spent hours with him. Hours and hours. And Legalize It was just like, oh, wow, dude, you're onto something. And I just wanted, then when Robbie and Sly came in for the Equal Rights album, wow, it was heavy. I just felt like if I keep recording with artists like these guys, I'm going to get somewhere. Because they had the song.
You're not wrong.
They had it all. They had the song. It was just amazing. It's probably I worked with Lauryn Hill.
Yeah, I read that.
And that was really cool. But she was really heavy as a lead as the queen of the group. She was.
Yeah.
It was too complicated for me. I felt crushed half the time because it was too strange for me. It was great because she's wonderful and an amazing artist. But there's so much going on in the artist's head, how they relate with who they work with. But the Wailers, it was completely different. You got into the songwriter's head. You spent a hell of a lot of time with them. You knew exactly what they wanted, and they got it without any compromise. And people started to love. I mean, put it this way: if I hadn't met like these lads, I'd probably be working for the Guitar Center or cutting cheese at some McDonald's or something, maybe. You know what I mean? Because there's too many great musicians that didn't get the opportunity, and I felt blessed and lucky to have anything to do with it. Because when I got to England, it was Desmond Dekker, Delroy Wilson, Dennis Brown, and Bob Andy, and guys like Prince Buster. These are the guys that were on English pop, the BBC. And Bob was on the underground pirate stations. And I didn't know anything about that because, I learned ska from Madness. Look at my vocabulary.
Cool. Yeah.
I heard Madness. I was like, what? But the Scatolites are the original owners of the title. But I didn't know who they were in 1973. But I did hear Madness later on, and all these, groups like The Clash who were playing reggae, and UB40 with Ollie and, the lads. And these, I was like, wow, that's reggae music until, I could understand that, that's John Holt. That's Desmond Dekker. That's Prince Buster. I didn't know who they were. But I did meet Dennis Brown. And he was completely different. He was like a soul singer. He was like Marvin Gaye. He had that incredible voice. And he was all over the radio as a 16-year-old kid. And he was selling more records and more popular than Bob Marley in 1972 when I got to England. So my education was a little bit mixed up. By 1974 is when I had my Wailers experience. But before that, I was working in a jazz rock highlight group with Remy Kabaka that was being produced by Chris Blackwell. And before that, I worked with Richard Branson and Oswald with I Sus with Delroy Washington. And I went from Virgin, my first record company, to have anything to do with recording or record royalties or being signed to a label from Virgin to Island. I left Virgin and went to Island. And then that's when it started to really, the flag was raised and a whole bunch of people were rallying around the Wailers sound. And it was just after Peter, Bob, and Bonnie split. And then during 77 and 78, Bob's popularity had become overwhelming for me. There was bad management, dangerous people. He was getting politicians elected. He was very risque in terms of himself. He should have looked after himself. But what I love about Bob, he sacrificed himself for his family, his country, and his belief. That's where he gets. He's way more important to me than any pop star that I've ever had anything to do with. And the same with Peter Tosh. He was assassinated because of his views. He's outspoken. They're amazing. They're amazing. No one can. It wasn't like being with the Motown. It wasn't like being with Hendrix or the Stones. It wasn't like that at all. It was completely different. It was a different mindset socially and behavior with the religion and the herb and, their views. And that That was first, and the music kind of came second.
So
The music was my...
Sorry, you go, mate. You're right.
Regardless of whatever was going on politically or religiously,
Yep.
all I did was I slept on a sofa at Miss Booker's house, Bob's mother's house, and we played guitar all day when he came home from work. When I got to Jamaica, the first couple of months was weird because I was trying to fit in and I didn't have a place to stay. And for the first year and a half, I literally slept on Hope Road floor. Like when they do the tours, when people come from all over the world, we said, "Oh, see this part of the Hope Road studio? Al Anderson used to sleep here." And I slept on the floor for a year and a half just so, because Bob didn't have anything that I thought he had when I was in England. He didn't have the money. He couldn't afford to put me in a hotel, give me a car, give me a per diem. So I wanted to live like Stetus growing up, and I did. And I don't regret 1 minute of it today.
That's a remarkable insight into Bob and Peter too, mate. I really appreciate that. And you know, you have worked, and I understand you're a bass player as well. So correct me if I'm wrong there, but you've worked with who I feel I'm a bass player and guitarist myself as well. So we've got that in common. But one of the most identifiable bass players that I think you've worked with is Aston Barrett. So, mate, what was it like working with him? Did you guys actually sit down in an academic sense and work out what you were going to play to Bob's parts, or did you more just jam it out?
He was amazing. The bass player was incredible. The being was complicated. His brother was a completely different animal.
Yeah, you mentioned
His
him, the
brother
drummer. Yeah,
was the guy was a god. He would finish. He never had the overdone. Never. Like I'd be in, we'd be doing a track, and I'm going like, "Oh, I'm doing this, and I'm going to play that," and I didn't play it right, and I made a little bit. You know, you could hide it, but I would go in and brush it up. He would finish first and be the first to leave, and I had to stay and get it perfect because we did live tracking. It was like Bob would sing the song live in the studio, and we would accompany him. Sometimes it was like boom, and sometimes I fucked up the outro. So I'll go back and just touch it up. But he never. And Family Man hardly ever. He did a lot of overs. Sometimes he'd come back the next day and say, "I didn't like that," and he overdub. But Carly, oh my God. He was like, "There's nothing like it, man." It's like Jeff Porcaro. There's nothing like it. Nothing like that. Maybe Sly. You know.
Yeah. You mentioned something earlier in the chat about...
Was another.
Sorry, you're right.
Sly Dunbar and Robbie and Sly is another. When I joined the 1977, 78, Bob was getting politicians elected. And he's got money, he's got all the things. And for me, there's too much going on that music. It wasn't about the music anymore. It was about money and popularity.
Yeah.
And a lot of politics, which I couldn't get myself involved in because it caused him to get attempt assassinations. Political leaders wanted him to help it. It became crazy. And then Peter Tosh was a lone wolf. And so we became, when I first came to Jamaica, he hated my guts because he thought I was breaking up the group. Like I was the chosen guy to come and do Bob's music and not him anymore. So it was hell. But then when he realized, when I told him that I was there to play with the three of them, and that I wasn't interested in any one career, we became very close. And so as 77 and 78 came, he asked me to join his group. He gave me royalties, which I still get today, and I don't get from the state.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And I honor Peter highly. Somebody in my career was careful and gracious to keep me working with him as long as I possibly could. When the Stones, I introduced him to the Rolling Stones and the lawyers and put it all together for him to be on Rolling Stones records and leave CBS. and it started to get a little out of. And I just wanted to be mellow and just ease into recording. And
yeah, be a musician.
There was too many people, and it was too much for me because my subjectivity and my objectivity is not self. I'm able to. My whole life is a void, and I am non-confrontational. A lot of musicians in Kingston are very confrontational, very competitive, and so it started spinning. And so I decided to leave Marley, work with Tosh, and then it started getting crazy with Tosh to leave Tosh and go back to Marley in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah,
and it was just a whirlwind of music. It was like a hurricane every day between recording, touring, social environment. It was heavy. And few people could have put up with it, but I had to because I felt I was homeless, and I needed to be in Jamaica going through all that because I didn't want to be in America or anywhere, or England or anywhere else. I needed to be right there in Jamaica, enduring what the musicians and artists and songwriters were going through, and I think I got exactly what I needed to survive to today.
Yeah. Hey, just you mentioned something earlier there about the royalties. I'm certainly not inquiring about the royalty side of things, but you were the guitarist on the track "No Woman, No Cry," weren't you? Because that's on the album that you worked on. Yeah, that's it. Did you come up with any part of the guitar parts there? Are you responsible for any of the songwriting?
I wrote everything. I wrote every guitar line that I played with Marley and Tosh. I was never told and produced. I was producing for them at that time.
Fantastic. Wow. Mate, I've played No Woman, No Cry many times I'm in covers bands, and it gets such a fantastic response. So congratulations on writing one of the world's most iconic tunes.
Thank you. People seem to really like that song. I don't like to play it because I've had conversations with Clapton, and he's also said that he refuses to play Sunshine and Love note for note, and after a while it's going to get on your ass. And he's absolutely correct. Sometimes you just don't want to, but there's so many fans that want it, and that's the thing with the Wailers music. People want to sing Three Little Birds. They don't want to hear my Miracle album. They don't want to hear the songs that I produced and worked on, put everything into. They want to hear what they're familiar with.
Yeah.
So is that wrong? No, it's not. But we're not a tribute to ourselves like the other bands, like the other Wailers. We are not. We have easily 30 original songs to play at any time. But if we played them, would the audience respond to them? No, because they're unfamiliar. They want to be familiarized and feel like Bob is there. But the greatest thing about our singer-songwriter is not like the other ones. The other ones in the Wailers want to be Bob. This guy wants to be himself because he has an R&B soul voice. And you have to stream and Google Chet Samuel, ChetSamuel, and you'll hear some of the greatest reggae singing in the business.
Samuel, okay,
like
gotcha.
Gareth Hammond or any of them.
Yep.
I mean, this guy's head is, he's got it. And he doesn't act like Bob. And nobody wants a bad Elvis impersonator. If you're going to see Elvis impersonator, you're going to see the real, wow, that's Elvis. And it's not. So I don't want that. That's not what I want. I want a guy to be who he is, sing his songs, and if we're going to honor the Wailers stuff, let's do it right for the people. Let's do it real.
No, agreed, mate. Yeah.
And that's why I put together.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, mate, it's been fantastic having a chat to you. I'll not likely be in the crowd at the Gold Coast gig when you're playing in Queensland. So, mate, I just want to offer you a sincere and heartfelt congratulations, on your career.
No, come on up, and I'll give you the songs, the original stuff that we did, and so you can hear the difference and hear the similarities of where our direction is going with our original songwriting. And it's not a copy of, it's just the vitamins and the amino acids of the original iconic figure that
way of putting it.
that influenced people. Yeah, that influenced me to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah.
And so you can hear the similarities in where lyrically and harmoniously where we're headed in our future.
Yeah, cool, mate. Well, mate, safe travels to come down here, mate, and you will be received very well. There's a lot of people that are looking forward to the shows. As you know, mate, there's a lot of extra shows that were put on and requested, such was the demand for the shows that were originally scheduled. So, yeah, you've certainly got a fan base down here, just to echo your sentiments about, you know, the reception that you got back in the late 70s and early 80s.
Hey, I'm ready, and I'm looking forward to seeing all our new fans and friends and all our family of people that come and supported us and supported reggae music for the years. Australia and New Zealand is some of our favorite territory to play, especially when it's freezing cold. And as you've noticed, our political, social environment isn't doing as well as yours is right now. So right on for that.
Indeed,
everybody there.
Mate, you should try and move down here. I'm sure there'd be many people willing to sponsor you.
Yeah, not only that, you got too much good beer, man. I wouldn't get anything done.
Yeah, I agree with that point. Mate, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I wish you all the very best, and I'll certainly be in the audience.
Yeah, make sure you come up and make yourself noticeable, because I want you to hear some of the stuff we're doing. Really, please.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, my name's Andrew. I'll introduce myself then, but now, you know, my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I'll just introduce myself, mate, and it'd be good to continue the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best to you, and keep your licks on and keep that guitar and bass pumping, man. Don't give up. Are you doing rock and roll, jazz, reggae?
I'm playing covers at the moment because it's what I do to earn a living. So I play about 2 or 3 times a week, playing anything from, well, Bob Marley songs to Linda Ronstadt through to Fleetwood Mac, that sort of stuff. So we play in like big bars and clubs.
What you're basically saying is you're a real musician, and I get it totally, because it's exactly what I had to do, and that's what we got to do.
No, thank you, mate. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me that you've said that, actually. Yeah, I mean, I do try. It's very hard to do original music in Australia there for a long time, and you can do it, but there's not it's very hard to sort of earn money from it, is what I'm saying. And I've got 2 kids and a wife, mate, so the money's got to keep on coming in. Man,
bless you, man. It's all going to happen for you. It's just it takes a minute. It'll happen. You got to be in it to win it, man.
Yeah, you do. No, you're not wrong about that. Yeah. Cool. All right, mate. Thanks so much. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for your time. Greatly appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, Al. Cheers.
My name's Andrew Mackay-Smith, and I host Scars and Guitars, the podcast series. That was my conversation with the legendary Al Anderson. I really hope you enjoyed that conversation, and thank you so much for listening.